Welcome to all of my global family this evening. Hope you're having a beautiful Sunday evening, Sunday morning, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Welcome. It's June 16th. Can you believe June is halfway over? And summer isn't even here officially, but it's hot in Florida. Yay! So welcome everybody. We are now live in the Blog Talk Radio studio. Thank goodness. We always give much thanks that Blog Talk Radio is on the case tonight. So let us welcome our female solution global family. Since we're live in Blog Talk, we are going to make it official now and bring in our global greeting for you. Yes, let's do it.
Blog Talk Radio. Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we live. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution Radio Show. We invite you to call in at 605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you.
All right, we are back, and I just got a text saying there might be a problem with Blog Talk. Okay, We always have the number available here if there's any problem to call in 727-731-5192. I don't have any idea what's going on with Blog Talk. It appears to be open and ready and working, but someone said they might have problems. So let's keep going. You can always tune in on YouTube Live, Viata's Tiny House Village, or go to either of my Facebook pages, Soul Purpose Healing or Viata Robinson, or AKA Viata Robinson, because it looks like Blog Talk is working, but you never know these days. So I'm going to get my drum out, and maybe we can correct things on Blog Talk. I don't know. I got my drum out, and we're going to bring in Becca Shea to join with the Native American community and the conscious community that just loves drumming. I love this video, so I'm going to play Becca Shea's music video so we can drum along with her. And just as a reminder, all of my videos that I play, let me just go back here for a minute. All videos, audios, or internet photos displayed are played for educational purposes only. No stealing or copyright infringement. Don't want to steal anything from you, not taking any money from you. Just playing for educational purposes only. Fair use. We're applying fair use on all the music, all the videos for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right, so let's get your drums out. We want to invite all of our ancestors, because these times of chaos and war and confusion need help. We need help, invisible help. So we invite all our ancestors to join us, and get your drums so we can let them know how much we love them by drumming in unity. Let's do it.
And has blood has ransomed people for God. Hey. From every tribe and language, people, every nation. Hey. Where warriors are falling, there's a resurrection coming. It's your time to rise and shine. Wake up, you sleeping giant. The wounds of injustice are being healed by the peace of Yahweh. It's bringing us power through unity. Where warriors are falling, there's a resurrection coming. Tribals come alive. Yeah, wake up, you sleeping giant. Your heartbeat, I feel it. Yeah, I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. Yeah, I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. Yes, you are. Bring us together. Bring us together. We cry. Yes, you are. Bring us together. Bring us together. Together we cry. Yes, you are. Bring us together. Bring us together. We cry out, out. Your heartbeat, oh, your heartbeat. This is the hour to know whose side to stand by. Raise up a standard in battle for every fellow tribe. Warriors are fighting, there's a revival igniting. Search for such a time. Yeah, arise, you blazing fire. Brave, stand firm and listen to your destiny. The rhythm of our Father moves with victory. Where warriors are fighting, there's a revival igniting. So my soul God and arise, blazing fire. Your heartbeat, I feel it. Yeah, I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. Yeah, I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. I feel it, yeah, I feel it. Yes, you are. Bring us together, bring us together. We cry, yes, you are. Bring us together, bring us together. Together we cry, yes, you are. Bring us together, bring us together. We cry out, out. Your heartbeat, oh, your heartbeat.
You have reached the On Air Radio Network. Please
state your name, and you will be entered into our queue. Please keep your phone on mute until you are ready to speak. Please attend to your phone.
Yeshua, bring us together, bring us together, we cry. Yeshua, bring us together, bring us together, together we cry. Yeshua, bring us together, bring us together, we cry. Out, out for your heartbeat, oh, give us your heartbeat. Yeshua, bring us together, we cry. Yeshua, bring us together, together we cry. Yeshua, bring us together, we cry. Out, out for your heartbeat, oh, give us your heartbeat.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thank goodness for musicians like Becca Shea, who is so in touch with her creator and the spirit of Yeshua, which is a spirit of truth and love. And she brings us such nice music on a day that has just been filled with family and friends and hugging and kissing and love. So wonderful, wonderful place to be in this earth right now, having music, my favorite daddy of all time. We're talking about daddy today because my father, who I knew for 64 years on this planet, we called him daddy. He was my daddy. And so I want to honor him for a few minutes and remember him. And I have a video that was made on you that's on still on YouTube to this day, when he was interviewed when he was in his 80s. And I love this interview because it just presents him as the legend that he was. And so I'm going to start off this evening just honoring Sherman John Howard for a minute, as he was interviewed by at Ditka's Place. They have in Chicago, they had a restaurant called Ditka's Place, and they interviewed my dad. This was many years, let's see, 16 years ago. But it's still relevant. Superstar today for me, born November 28th, and he's still very relevant. November 28th, 2024 was his birthday, and he passed away on December 5th of 2019. So this is just a short interview of my daddy. He was my daddy, and then we're going to talk about what that relationship is like for you today. Daddy, who's your daddy? Who's your sweet spot today? Who's your sweetness today? Because I look at the word daddy as in many levels. Some people have sugar daddies, and some people just have daddy who was the seed that was planted to bring them forth in the earth. But let's just check out this interview with Sherman John Howard, who I called daddy for 64 years. So check it out. A night of legends at Ditka.
Hi, Sherman. You come out to an event like this. For you, how important is it to have groups like this where guys who've gone through what you've gone through, playing and after, can all be together and talk?
Well, memories. You know, that's what you live on when you're my age, memories. I'll be 84 in November, so that's memories.
84, what still, in those memories, what still gives you a charge?
Well, the guys I played with, Tom Landry and Motley and guys like Otto Graham, so Bill Willis. You know, those names come to your mind, and so you're glad that Hamilton, we all close. So.
When you talk about a Landry or something, did you know he was a coach when he was playing with it? Did you see that in his future?
Well, I knew, Landry and I started out together in 49. So we were both with the Yankees at that time. And he was our punter and the defensive. So we could have a close relationship. Then over the years, whenever I'd come by, he'd always be glad to see me.
Okay. Was he a student of the game?
Oh, yes. See, the guys he played with at that time, Snelling back. I see he just passed yesterday, and Tom Monroe and Tennell. Those guys, they were pretty good ball players.
Sherman, you still look pretty spry for a guy your age. You seem to have come out of the wars much better off than a lot of these guys.
I taught high school physical education for 32 years, so I had to be in shape to stay along with the kids. And then I coached for about 27 years in high school.
Let me ask you one thing. For fans, what don't they know, or what can't they ever identify with unless they've been in a team and on an NFL field?
2 a day practice. See, I don't care how well you prepare for it, you're not prepared for 2 a day. That's the body going at its highest suspension for 2 days. I mean, two times a day, and that's for 2.5 hours. Now, at that time when they stay out there 3 hours. But now, they got it pretty well arranged. I know when I went with Paul Brown, he had it well arranged. I mean, hour and 50 minutes, that was it. I don't care what you were doing, hour and 50 minutes. Now with Lombardi, when I was with the Giants, you might be out there until he got satisfied. So that was the difference there.
As I let you go, what was Paul Brown like?
Very astute, mean what he said, and very analytical. Never cursed, never holler at you, but whatever he said, one of the things I always remember him saying, are you running as fast as you can? And so you didn't answer that because if you said no, that means you're loafing. And if you say yes, you might be too slow for his team.
Thank you very much, Sherman. I appreciate it. Nice meeting you.
So that was my daddy for 64 years. So very, very grateful that soul was in my life and that I chose him, because nowadays most of us are saying we chose our parents because they had lessons to teach us that could help us evolve and grow. So whatever relationship or not that you had with your daddy, it was a lesson for us to grow and evolve and to either strive to be more like that character, that soul, or not, and to improve and do better. So I'm grateful. And tonight we're asking the question, who is your daddy? Who's your daddy? Come on, come on. Do you have a sugar daddy? Or did you have a close, loving relationship with the father who planted the seed? And can you call him daddy now? Or did you call him daddy in a sweet, sweet way? What was your relationship like? That's what we can have. As the interviewer or my dad said in that interview, lots of memories. At his age, he was 84. So it was 11 years before he lived another 11 years when pretty good health. And he had lots of memories. And the good thing about him, he had a good memory. I mean, he could, even in his 90s, he could talk about things that happened when he was 5, 6 years old. I don't know if I can do that, but he had a great memory. So we're looking at today an environment that's kind of toxic, pollution, relationships, chaos, confusion. What's going on? What's going on? We're asking, who is your daddy? And that question means, who is your sweetness today? Who's your sweet spot today? Who can you, and what? We could use it as a noun, daddy noun. What is your sweet spot? What is your sweet time? What is your sweet energy that you can relate to today? Now, we do have people in the studio. I don't know if... So let me go to before I go to I've got lots of videos to show you today about the global South, because the daddy figure in our life has to relate, or should relate to, what we now see as a transition to a culture, a people, brown skin mainly, who are taking back their power. They're looking back, the brown-skinned people of the planet, and I'm going to show you a map later on what the global South looks like. It's basically Mexico, south of Mexico, excluding the Estados Unidos, and all of Africa, and that's pretty much it. Not including Europe, and not including Canada or the United States. The global south is Mexico and South and Africa. And basically, all the brown folks are waking up to their sovereignty, their power. And that's what we want to talk about today, because I have a brother, a Muslim brother by the name of Shahid Bolson. Whoa, every time I listen to him, I get my brain gets pricked into mind activation. Such a powerful speaker it makes you think. He's very thought provoking. So I'm going to share him this evening and bring about the thought provoking. So let me go to the phones right now, because we do have a hand up, and I see Blog Talk. Looks like Blog Talk is working. We'll see here. Let's see, 319-457. Your mic is open.
Ready?
Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, 319-457.
Yes. Yeah, I hear you.
Can you speak? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Where are you calling from?
You. Oh, this is Kufi.
Hey, Kufi, from Chicago, right? Okay, Kufi, do you have anything you'd like to say? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Go ahead. What do you have to say to us tonight?
Well, my father I was adopted, had an adopted father who was a sharecropper. And he had lashes, and he taught me how to garden. And I just didn't want to hear about his horror stories. And I kept him focused on the future. I said, I'm not a slave. That's your experience. So I helped him move forward. He told me all about the whooping and beating, and leaving the South, Mississippi, Jim Crow. And I graduated college and thanked him. And he died. I sang his funeral, and he put me on his wheel. You see. And one of my adopted sisters told me, go find my real father. And that's how I found my real family using Facebook. I'm well known all on Facebook, or finding using even Mark Zuckerberg applauding me. Obama, father's family in California look just like him, and I talk with them. They say I sound just like him, and I got brothers and sisters. And father, my grandfather was a bishop priest.
Wow.
Named Ben 3 years ago. I named my son Ben 19 years ago. And then, like, you're the prince of the family. You're reincarnated. So I've been kind of quiet processing that. And what's my go-to now is finally I have reconnected with my biological family in California and Texas. And I have a relationship now with my ancestors that they're living in me. They guide me now. I see them in my dreams. They guide me now.
Wow.
And so I was going to tell you, when you talk about your father, you always talk about him in his late years. Talk about him in his strong, youthful years. I know he uses sickness to make an example, but remember him when he was strong, not when he was weak.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and that's what ancestors. That's what my ancestors are telling me. They tell me that you are living through us. I mean, we're living through you.
Right. And my dad was strong. Yeah, my dad was strong. My dad was strong most of his life. I didn't have any. There were really no really serious diseases. His knees got weak. That was the main challenge he had. His knees got weak from playing football. So in his late 80s, early 90s, he started using a cane to walk, and it got more and more difficult for him. He was never in a wheelchair, but he was using a cane in his late 80s and 90s.
That's a miracle. That's a miracle that he made it tonight.
Tell me about it. And most of his family died before they were 40. So yeah, it was really a miracle. His mother died with 36. I think his father died before he was 40. and he had most of his relatives were died at a very young age. So he lived longer because he studied physical education and nutrition and athletics and all that. He had a longer life. So when I talk about longevity, I look at him changing his lifestyle.
I have an adopted auntie, made soul food. She's 100 years old. She outliving everybody. They can't even sell the house because she's old. And her I asked her, what was, everybody ate all this fat back. Why are you sick? She said, I never ate it. They asked me to cook the pork and chicken. She said, I never ate it. I cooked it for them, but I never ate it. I'm like, wow, you never ate at the table. She said, no. If they wanted it, I cooked it. But I took those little herbs, whatever those herbs was back in the day, and she never ate the food she cooked.
Wow. Well, and she must have had some very positive emotions of joy, gratitude, and happiness, because that's what keeps you in longevity is your attitude.
Prayed every night.
Prayed every night.
In her room.
Yep.
And I used to say, who are you praying to? She said, I'm praying for the world.
Okay.
And she taught me how to pray.
Yes.
She was a praying sister. And when I got my first job, it was $15 an hour. And she's like, what? I made $15 a day cleaning white folks' houses. So I learned a lot from her.
Yes. How
and
about
I learned to mind my business, live life to the fullest. And the best thing we can do to help someone is to intercede and pray for them. Because that was my mistake. I was always busy. And she's like, hey, stop. Pray for people.
Yes. And so thank you. Yeah.
That's my Father's Day little snack. And
so what was the greatest lesson you think your father left you?
Waking up at 4:30 in the morning, going to work
at
a factory.
Okay. So
eating grits and bacon in the morning. He finally woke me up in the summer, and I went to work with him and my mother to the security guard at Evansville Company. And I went to work, and I lived in the suburbs. And while going to work downtown, I saw homeless people in the morning over a garbage can fire getting warm. And I was like, looking in the back of the window. She's like, what were them? I was over homeless people. And I learned that I was lucky just to have a house.
All right. That's well, gratitude. So thank you, Kofi. I think the lesson for you was how to express gratitude.
Hard work.
Yeah,
There's no retirement.
Yeah.
My mother died. My father died afterwards of loneliness. But there's no retirement. You have to keep gardening. You have to keep doing something. There is no retirement.
Right.
You know what retirement means? That means you're in the grave.
Well, the new phrase is refirement. You have to fire up all the cells that were trying to go to sleep. And the cells that were stressed, you have to refire, meaning put out the flames of stress and get into peace and joy and gratitude. So thank you, Kofi. We're going to go to, looks like, I don't know. Thank you, Kofi. Hang in there. We'll be back to you if you have another comment. Let me see. I don't know if we have a caller on 727. Then the on-air network, the hand is up. But I'm not sure if there was a caller there. So I'm just opening the mic briefly to see. Okay. So maybe I should leave that open in case we have a caller. All right. We're going to go now to what's up with the Global South. Because in order for you to find that sugar daddy in your life, that spiritual sugar daddy, we need to kind of shift our beliefs and priorities and look at what's going on globally that is affecting all of us. You may not feel it. I mean, many of us tend to just focus on our city, what's going on in our city, who's doing this, who's doing that. But when you look at what's going on in the world, it's so exciting. And it tells you the divine picture. It gives you the divine picture of what we all need to be preparing for the shift in the paradigm that's coming, that is here, that's working even now. So here is a little clip about what exactly is the global, where is the global south. It should become more familiar to you um, as we go, but I'm gonna bring in where actually is the global south here. Let's look at that.
To you by Brilliant. In the past few years, the global south has become an increasingly popular turn of phrase. The use of the term in academic articles has risen exponentially, and we've seen endless headlines talking about what the global south thinks of Ukraine or Gaza. At the beginning of the year, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi even hosted a virtual Voice of Global South summit, and there was a lot of chatter about what the Global South was thinking at the annual BRICS summit in August. But while politicians and journalists alike seem pretty comfortable using the phrase, they never really define it, and it's not really clear where exactly the Global South actually is. So in this video, we're going to have a look at the origins of the Global South, why it's become so popular recently, and try our best to figure out what it actually means. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. First, what exactly is the Global South? And more interestingly, where is it? Well, perhaps the first well-known visualization of the Global South came in 1980 with the Brandt line. The line is drawn at roughly 30 degrees latitude, intended to highlight the inequalities between the wealthy north and the poorer south. Most of the countries south of the Brandt line were former colonies who then found themselves in the middle of a Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. These two major power blocs sought to one-up each other by trying to gain influence and secure alliances with these countries, either through economic aid or proxy wars. As a result, many of these Global South countries decided to form a third bloc to assert their political and economic interests independently of the US or the USSR. The Non-Aligned Movement, or NAM, created in 1961 by the leaders of the former Yugoslavia, India, Ghana, Indonesia, and Egypt, became a platform to advance Global South interests, including independence, territorial integrity, and anti-imperialism. The NAM was perhaps the first formal political grouping that explicitly aimed to represent the Global South, and it was remarkably successful in advocating for decolonization, disarmament, and better relations within the region. Countries generally pursued a policy of neutrality, gaining financial support from both the US and USSR. However, NAM's unity came under strain over time, as the founding leaders that strongly advocated for non-alignment were overthrown, replaced, or died. For instance, Ghanaian President Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown in 1966. Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser died in 1970, and President Josip Broz Tito of Yugoslavia died 10 years later. Members began to align more closely by the power bloc to suit their own domestic agendas. There are conspicuous parallels here with the geopolitical situation today. Again, you've got two competing geopolitical powers, this time the US and China, trying to win over Global South countries, and a reactive non-aligned bloc, arguably led by India, trying to forge a middle way through the geopolitical conflict. In this conflict, the term Global South has recently enjoyed a bit of a resurgence, and is now a popular shorthand with journalists and politicians alike. So let's take a look at what the Global South means today and its role in this new international order. As we see it, when commentators talk about the Global South, they could be describing one of three groups. Firstly, the poorest countries in the world. Secondly, the G77 coalition. And lastly, a non-aligned bloc positioning itself outside of the brewing Sino-American rivalry. So let's get straight into it. Firstly, the simplest way to understand what the Global South is essentially the poorest countries or regions of the world. Most of the poorest countries in the world lie south of the Brant line, and if you look at GDP per continent, the divide between the global north and south becomes glaringly apparent. But if you look at countries rather than continents, the division becomes a bit murkier. While the poorest countries were almost invariably in the global south in the 20th century, today many countries south of the Brant line are now as rich, or in some cases richer, than many countries in the global north. As the global south gets richer, this definition will make even less sense. While many global south economies are struggling, 14 out of 15 of the world's poorest countries, for instance, are found in Africa, by 2030, 3 of the 4 largest economies, China, India and Indonesia, are expected to be from the global south. This economic shift has gone hand in hand with enhanced political visibility, with countries in the global south increasingly asserting themselves on the global scene through intergovernmental organizations. The second way we can understand the Global South is as shorthand for the intergovernmental G77 and China organization, made up of 135 developing countries, representing 80% of the global population, and its subgroupings. The G77 and China is sort of the successor to the NAM, working to promote South-South trade and facilitate North-South cooperation. While G77 and China was formed during the Cold War, they've been gaining a lot of political clout recently. For instance, in September, G77 and China held a historical summit promoting a new economic world order amid growing global polarization. Within the G77, there were various subgroupings with slightly different aims, usually just focused more on regional cooperation. For instance, the African Union plays a significant role in peacekeeping in Africa, addressing different continental health crises and dealing with coups. In 2023, it joined the G20, a bloc made out of the most wealthy economies in the world, giving the AU a platform to address key issues concerning African nations, such as debt restructuring. Other good examples include the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which has been key in reducing tensions in global conflict hotspots such as Myanmar, Taiwan and the South China Sea, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation subgroup, which has platformed its condemnations of Israel's genocidal actions in its war against Hamas in Gaza, and the BRICS Group, a group of 10 of the wealthiest G77 countries, which expanded in 2024. BRICS is often framed as a global south rival to the G7 and has launched initiatives like the New Development Bank and initiated de-dollarization talks. Finally, the term Global South sometimes seems to refer to a non-aligned bloc of countries who side neither with the US nor China in the emerging great power race.
Now that guy his phrase, he keeps referring to these countries in the global south as the poorer countries. That might be something we could debate about, but I'm going to interrupt him because he's going on and on about things that maybe we don't really want to hear. But here is another perspective. It's a short perspective on who or what is the global south. Because when we hear from Shahid Bolson, you want to be clear in your mind what he is thinking about as a Muslim American. Basically, he's a Muslim American. He's not living in America. But the man is so thought-provoking in his speech and articulation. But here's just one more perspective on who or what is the global south. We want to have no questions in our mind what these speakers are referring to when we talk about, because you're going to hear about it more and more because there's this sovereignty showing up now in the global south.
The global south. You probably know it by the terms third world or developing country. With a few exceptions, it encapsulates almost all of Asia, Africa, Latin America, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, the Caribbean, and the BRICS countries, notably Russia and China, who have championed global south issues, even though some analysts think they shouldn't be considered part of the south. It's likely that majority of what you've heard about the global south came from a news report, government statement, INGO story, or even a blockbuster film that came from the global north, or the west, or developed world as it's better known, which is problematic for a number of reasons, but mainly because the North, through media and language, then has precedence over how the South is seen and perceived. See, the categorization of global North and South is based on a socio-economic and political checklist. For instance, the global North is considered home to more democratic and technologically advanced and powerful countries, while the global South, more often than not, is seen as lacking in monetary resources, dependent on exports, and home to a poor human rights record. South countries also usually have the shared experience of colonization.
We wonder what there could be in the present day dilemma of the white man's hemisphere that could possibly add anything to their happiness and contentment.
Because of this historic global power structure, there emerges a dominant perspective or vernacular that all of us, North and South, are susceptible to considering as the norm or the standard. And this affects how North and South assert their place in the world. So, for instance, South governments are pretty much used to being directed by North governments on how they should be running their countries. Many intergovernmental organizations use global North structures and systems as the main model to prototype off. And the South is used to being featured in documentaries that talk about poverty, human rights abuses, and such. And the South is pretty much used to playing the anti-hero or being highly exoticized in blockbusters from the West. But this form of narrative lacks local context, often has political strings attached, and succeeds in portraying the South only in negatives. And this is what South governments are usually talking about when they say they are being unfairly measured or controlled by the West. Here are some examples.
We don't need the West. The West is not honest at all. They don't give, they only take.
You don't ask that from the Americans. You don't go and ask that from the British or any other country about Iraq or what is happening in Pakistan. This is, be fair with us. Be fair with us.
中国欢迎一切善意的这种建议，但是我们拒绝任何无端的指责。
Of course, there are people who say, well, we give you our money, so we must tell you what to do and what to be. Well, there comes a point where you say, okay, between my rights and what I want to be and your money, you can have your money.
Надо против кого-то сплачиваться. Вот против России это хорошо, крупнейшая ядерная держава.
Each of us already have a north or south bias, and this usually informs us on who we think are the good guys or the bad guys. But really, the story is always developing. Today's bad could be tomorrow's good. It's just a matter of perspective change.
Okay, so I hope everybody has in their mind an idea of Southern or global South culture, global South governments, people who we're going to talk about a little more from a perspective of Shahid Bolson, who's a Muslim, and how the global North is declining in its power lately. And I think it's especially due to the war in Gaza. People are so aware of the evil and the Zionist influence, not just in the Middle East, but worldly, because of the cruelty and hatred and destruction that we have observed in the Middle East. And let me just say hi to Empress Regina, says royal peace to all. Royalty in the house. We bow to the Empress Regina. Thank you for joining us this evening, Empress. And I hope your day has been full of joy, love, and fun for everyone. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we do have a couple of hands up in the studio. So I want to acknowledge them when we come back. We're going to open up your mic, 706-202 and 773-483. We'll come right back to you. We want you to talk to us tonight. Who is your daddy? Number one. I showed you who my daddy was, my the man in my life who influences all the decisions about the future men and the current men in my life. And if they don't measure up too much, then they're not going to be in my life. So who is your sweetness that you are using your plumb line with today, even if you didn't have a father? Who is your sweetness energy that has helped you stay in your heart space with love and concern and care for others? And when we come back, we want to talk about that, as well as the global South and how it is changing, and it will change the world. The global South, with all its great resources, they forgot about that. They're trying to rape the countries in the global South because they have oil and minerals and all that. But they're going to change the world. They're rising up. So we're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, I'll take your calls. So hang in there, stick and stay, don't stray away, as we say in the female salute.
Have you ever wondered why some of the healthiest people still get sick? Or why the occurrence of learning disabilities like ADHD have drastically increased over the last 50 years? How is it that the cancer rate has gone from 1 in 8,000 back in the 1910s to 1 in 2 today? Isn't it odd that even though we are more focused on health than ever before, that there's still been an increase in diseases, disorders, illnesses, and other conditions that destroy your quality of life? What if we told you that the very things you're using in your home to avoid these health concerns are actually what's causing them? If you're the decision maker in your home, you know how overwhelming it can be to keep your family safe. Today, we'd like to welcome you and simply provide you with some important information and shed some light on some health concerns you may not be aware of. Over the last 100 years, thousands of toxic chemicals have been introduced into society because of an excessive overstock of chemicals designed for warfare in the Second World War. Today, as the 2013 documentary The Human Experiment states, quote, 42 billion pounds of toxic chemicals enter into commerce every day. That amount would fill up 623,000 tanker trucks. And as we speak, there are over 80,000 such chemicals on the market in the U.S. Over the last half century, chemical usage has gone up by 2,000%.
So this information that I share on all my shows about our polluted and environment, toxic air, and all that is mainly caused by a global North capitalist mentality. No care for Mother Earth and just greed and corruption. All that information I just shared with you in that commercial for Melaleuca has deeply rooted, I think, in capitalism and Zionist greed. That's how I look at it. So think about that as we go forward tonight, and why the global South must rise and take on a new role in this planet to change the paradigm that we've been living in, that is destructive, murderous, evil, and confusing and chaotic. So let me go to the phones. I want to hear from you and get your opinion on who's your daddy and what's up with the global South. Do you know what's going on with the global South? Are you ready for the global South takeover? 706-202. I believe that's our brother Kwame Sunhorse.
Good evening, Sister Viata, and to all the brothers and fathers on the line. Happy Father's Day. And my dad, he had a problem, and I gave the generational cure. I didn't have to stop saying generational curse. I was able to develop the generational cure in being able to give up alcohol and drugs.
All right.
And has been 43 years. So that is a concept that my two sons now have no concept of their dad being, on drugs or alcohol. So that was the cure that I got from being the father of my two sons and my 5 daughters. The global South. We lived the global South that was called the Civil War. because the thing that it was the agriculture and the industrial age came about through agriculture, through what came from the land. You had the same thing happen in the Berlin Conference when Count Bismarck and all of the Europeans sat there in the 1800s, and they took the map of Africa and they divided it up, and they went in and they began to pillage all of the mineral resources that comes out of the southern countries.
Right.
The other part is that climately, the North is always colder in its environment, and it does not produce as much as the southern part of the planet and producing the green and the necessary nutrients and thing that comes from the earth. The other part is you're looking at the South America, and I sent you the piece and looking at what they call the extraterrestrial fiber optics project.
Right.
And the extraterrestrial fiber optics project is looking at, they're going to run fiber optics under the ocean to the continent of Africa and to the South Americas, where they can put the technology in order, because Africa has right now 70% of the 18 to 35-year-old population is on the continent of Africa. That is very much marketable powers. They want to consume, to tap into those consumers.
Right.
And the influx of the people coming up out of Colombia and South America is because when they finished and redid this country, they went into the South Americas and started doing what? Taking their resources of the coca plant and the poppy fields and began to produce the wealth of drugs that was brought from the South where? To the North.
Right.
So the thing is that you've seen it. And the only thing they're doing, they just giving it a new name. Because even now, the Vatican, Pope Francis is going to the G7 to sit down and talk about AI technology going into the religious sect. So you're looking at an industry that has been going on for hundreds of years. I mean, more than that, because they've been pillaging from the north, came and come into the south. This is how it has. It's because in the north you have less, because you have a colder climate. You're not producing. The land is very harsh. So where do you have to go? You have to go where there's sunshine, plenty of resources, land, water, and women are most bountiful in the south than it is in the north. So these are the changes that you see going about that you're calling now the global south. The global south is nothing but the capitalism is moving itself, and they've just given themselves a new name, a new title. What we need to be looking at is Project 25, because right now, and I sent that to you last night, on the abortion, and the thing is that now that they're 150% increase on pill abortion than it is the physical abortion. They're killing more children by prescription, by medicated drugs that they can give to women to take to abort. And this is the new methodology of the pharmaceutical company that's producing it.
Well,
then you have one last thing. New York Times Thursday ran an article called Brain Rot. Brain rot is the new addiction that they've discovered, that this TikTok, Instagram, all of these apps have now caused major damage to the human brain. And now they're trying to figure out how to treat brain rot.
Right. So,
Global
okay.
South is just the tip. It's not even part of it. That's for the far as the government countries are doing this. It's not, the resources is what they're after. Whoever controls your resources control your world.
Yes.
So you're looking at brain rot, you're looking at Project 25, you're looking at the extraterrestrial fiber optic projects, and then you have to look at what is the, have you seen the plan for Global South? They have a plan, a 120-page plan for Global South. We have to begin to read these. On 457, it talks about the abortion pill of the Project 25. We're using these technology to entertain ourselves, but we need to start downloading the mindset and the plan that they're telling us that they're getting ready to do to us.
Okay, that is exactly why we're gonna hear from Shahid Bolton a different perspective. Thank you, Kwame, because those are some of the problems that we have with capitalism and corporate autocracy and this wicked government that we have in the United States, where lobbyists are telling the Congress what to do. So let me go to the next caller and see what their perspective is on this. We definitely have these issues and problems that we want to solve. We want to see solved and resolved to bring more peace and less chaos and war. So I opened up 773-483. Your mic is open.
Yes. Hello, this is Kofi, the farmer.
Kofi, are you switching? Kofi, that's not the number you were on before. You're switching phones on me?
No. Well, that phone, I lost the energy, so I called my business line.
Oh, okay, well,
I'm sure you have more than one phone.
Okay, well, I want to go.
Anyway, I'm a student on this.
Okay.
It's like Kwame is. But I want you all to go on YouTube and listen to a song from David Manson, who is a friend of mine on Facebook. He wrote a song called We Just Disagree. There is no good guy, there's no bad guy. There's only you and me, and we just disagree.
Okay.
I think right now, Black American people, we are mixing in with the Southern whites. Young brother married 25, he married an 8-year-old country woman. I think, I'm not saying that's a solution, but I think they're recognized because they really don't need us anymore. But what they need is our intellect and our ancestors' strength. The South, I'm going to say this here. Do you know the North is really a part of the South? Even Chicago, it's Democratic area. But if you go to the southern regions like Cairo and Kankakee, all those are Republicans. Cairo has a Mississippi port, which advocated $40 million for the governor to rebuild the port. We are actually together, and that's what I've been advocating for. Blacks are getting into farming now. Okay, I have to farm down in Arkansas. We're making ourselves valuable to the government. Yes, they want us to leave and go somewhere else, or they don't want us here. But I think we're entering an area where they realize they need us. They need our vote. They need our culture. We create the Southern culture, the slang and everything, all that y'all and all that. I talk to white men and white women all the time, and I tell them, you didn't cause the problem. Your ancestors didn't cause the problem. The government kind of bullied them into taking the land. You knew it was wrong.
Well,
so all we want is to have access to that. So yes, this is the problem between the Democrats and Republicans. The Deep South is like Bill Gates buying 100 million acres in the South. Chinese are buying in the South. The Southern states are the most richest fertile dirt on the planet. So we have to not just complain about what they're doing and their goals for us. Our goal is to keep the peace, be valuable, work with them in a business capacity, and look forward to a better future, okay? So that we can have peace in our land.
Okay.
Yes, they have disturbing agenda for us. I see that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're turning the corner and they're realizing that this government needs us, not just to vote, but to build businesses and make America what it is. And I think if they allow black men and women, okay, to be a part of the system, that is the healing.
Okay.
The economic merge.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I know I
So
put a lot on you.
okay. So
let's be about the offense.
Okay, let me go to this audio with Brother Shahid Bolson. Brother Shahid Bolson, I started listening to him a few months ago. He totally blew my mind about a lot of global issues, especially in the Middle East and what's going on in the United Nations. He puts a very important attention to what's going on in the UN and how America is the big problem, and America, being the Zionist mafia, I call them, is the biggest problem. I think we need to focus on as something that has to be eliminated to make a shift in our global peace. So I'm going to play, it's about 4 minutes of Shahid Bolson. He was actually born in Colorado. And he has a very colorful life. He's had a colorful life. He's got to be, I'm not sure what his age, he's got to be in his 60s, maybe 70s. The man is thought provoking. It helps us think about this country we live in called the United States and just how corrupt we really are and some of the things that need to change, particularly talking about about Article 6 of the UN that would eliminate the United States government from the UN because they have been totally disruptive to any even idea of peace in the world. So let's listen, and then I'll come back. If you have any questions, press 1, and we'll come back if you have questions on what he has to say about Article 6, which is holding the United States of America accountable for the mess we've been.
American control and domination of the United Nations affects everyone. You know, the whole U.S. economy has been run for decades, and everyone knows it. It's acknowledged even by their own politicians. The first person who even said it was the American president, Eisenhower, back in the 50s, before he left office, that the U.S. economy has been run for decades according to the military-industrial complex, which means that it thrives on war and conflict. War and conflict is the driver of their economy, or anyway, it has been the driver of their economy ever since the UN was established. And America has therefore only used the UN precisely for this purpose, to spread violence and conflict and war all around the world. Do you think that getting the US out of the UN would not result in a dramatic decrease in the total number of global conflicts? Of course it would. Because America uses the United Nations to start and keep conflicts going. Just like in Gaza, just like in Palestine. If the U.S. hadn't been part of the UN, hadn't been especially on the Security Council of the UN, there would have been peace in Palestine before I was even born. There'd be peace today. The Israelis would have had to abandon Zionism a long time ago if the U.S. didn't immunize them from accountability at the United Nations, if they didn't use the United Nations to silence the whole world over the conflict in Palestine. I mean, look, the U.S. has violated the principles of the UN Charter more times than the number of years that the United Nations has existed as an organization. And they started right away. They started the United Nations in 1945. In 1950, 5 years later, the Americans massacred hundreds of Korean refugees and committed war crimes throughout the Korean War. No accountability. Vietnam, the My Lai massacre, Agent Orange, napalm, no accountability. Carpet bombing of Laos and Cambodia, no accountability. The first Gulf War, that's the first Gulf War, not the one that you know about, not the post 9/11 one, but in 1991 when they attacked Iraq over Kuwait. Then there was the invasion of Iraq, the shock and awe campaign, massive civilian casualties. Abu Ghraib, the Haditha massacre, dropping white phosphorus on civilians in Fallujah. No accountability. The invasion of Afghanistan, torture at Bagram Air Base, drone strikes, countless massacres of civilians in Afghanistan. No accountability. The CIA torture and rendition program. No accountability. You know, that's just a short list of everything they've done. We're not even talking about their covert operations, coups and assassinations, Patrice Lumumba, the Bay of Pigs, Qasem Soleimani, on and on. It's endless, endless interventions, endless interference, subversion, destabilization across Africa, Latin America, Asia, the Middle East, all with no accountability. All of this has an impact on the global stage. Every single crime that America has committed has ramifications. It has reverberations. Every crime changes the whole global landscape in terms of our belief collectively as human beings, our beliefs and our aspirations and our hope and our expectations about justice, about peace, about fairness, about the rule of law, about sovereignty, about the morality of nations and what nations can be and what they can get away with and what they can't get away with. The US use and abuse of the United Nations has been an absolute catastrophe for the entire planet. The whole point here is that we can do something about it. It's in the charter that they signed, that they wrote. It's in the charter that they can be removed. They never thought that they would be in a position where the other nations of the world could actually expel them. But the power dynamics in the world have changed dramatically over the last, even just over the last 3, 4, 5 years, much less over the last 10. The world isn't what it was in 1994, in 2024. It's a very different world now, with BRICS and the global South rising, with the center of gravity of the global economy pivoting to the global South. It's a very different world now. And we believe, that all of us on the team and everyone who signed that petition believe absolutely that Article 6 can and will be invoked. And finally, the US will be removed from the United Nations, and potentially the United Nations can actually begin to operate according to its stated purpose, its official purpose, rather than the way it has been used ever since 1945.
So Sahid gives us a global picture that many people don't think about. And as a Muslim, and he has a petition, a worldwide petition to get rid of the United States at the United Nations. It's been pretty clear who has been leading the idea that the war in Gaza should continue, and in fact, war everywhere we should have ongoing military conflicts, because the Estados Unidos, as Eisenhower said, is out of control militarily, out of control, totally off the rail. And this is what Brother Shahid is pointing out, that he believes the solution is to, number one, get the United States out of the UN, because they have been interfering with the purpose of that group. Now, I don't know if that's going to peace, but he seems to think so. He's a political commentator, and he has so many. If you want to listen to more of his talks or comments, he has a YouTube channel called Middle Nation. Fascinating speeches that he gives about everything. Now, just to highlight what he's talking about, the world leaders are meeting in Switzerland right now. And what a joke. What a joke. Oh my goodness. The lies and propaganda is off the rail. It's on steroids at this meeting. So I'm going to show you just a 2-minute clip on how many lies and propaganda and craziness is going on in Switzerland. That must be the human trafficking capital of the world, because they're fighting fiercely to keep the war going in Ukraine. Now, for those of you who don't understand what's going on in Ukraine, I follow this on Telegram and everywhere. It's everywhere now. I don't know where it's not at this point. That Ukraine is like human trafficking capital of the world. There is so much going on in Ukraine. I heard a video just today from someone on Telegram, which you can't censor Telegram, that not only is Zelensky the so-called president, which I understand his term is up, so he's really not even the president. All that money we're sending to Ukraine, he's making billions of dollars on organs, human organs, they are actually the people who are in the know, and this is not just conspiracy. I don't think it's been coming up too much. People in the know. Ukraine is manufacturing human organs. They're actually forcing pregnant women to give up their babies for organ donations, organ sale, so that Zelensky, all this money that the United States is sending to Ukraine is being used to traffic humans. Let's just keep that out in your brain as you listen to what Miss Kamala Harris is saying about Russia. Now, Russia, for those of you who aren't doing your homework, Russia was one of the countries that was fighting the Khazarian mafia, the Zionists. So part of the reason you have had the media so crazy against Russia is because they've been fighting the Zionists for hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years. They've been fighting against the Khazarians and the mafia and the Zionists. So Russia's always looked at it as the bad guy, bad guy, bad guy. You've heard it. How many years did we have Hillary Clinton and the U.S. military, and everybody wants to get rid of Russia because they're killing the Zionists. They want to get rid of the Zionists. And Putin is so aware of what's going on in Ukraine with trafficking and all that. It's not just about land and people and taking over back their land in Ukraine. Russia knows what's going on in the way of trafficking and human babies being taken to be sold. It is such a mess in Ukraine. And yet this government, Estados Unidos, that's all I can say. I don't even have any respect for this government. I love the people of the United States, but the government got to go. And that's why I'm sharing Shahid Bolson's perspective on why it's so important that this Article 6 passes to get the military and the Congress and all the Zionists out of the UN, and maybe some progress will be made. But I want to just play for you this 2-minute clip of all the world leaders in Switzerland. What the hell they're doing there is just pure evil, lying, confusion, and more. And here's Kamala leading the way. Remember, Ukraine is the child trafficking, human trafficking, along with Israel. There's some problems there too. But Ukraine, all that money we're sending there, we are promoting human trafficking. Do your homework, people. Do your homework. Human trafficking. Just keep that in your mind. So here is Kamala. Oh. Doing her thing, leading the pack to promote human trafficking and blaming who? Russia. Gotta blame Russia. Okay, gotta blame Russia. Here we go.
Today, Putin put forward a proposal, but we must speak truth. He is not calling for negotiations, he is calling for surrender. America stands with Ukraine, not out of charity, but because it is in our strategic interest.
The Ukrainian people did not ask for this fight, but in defending their country, their valor and their sacrifice have been truly humbling to witness. It is a cruel paradox that the things that make life worth living are also the things for which brave men and women are prepared to die.
Such a peace could not be a Ukrainian capitulation. This is why the precondition is to help Ukraine to resist in such a situation to this aggression, because there is one aggressor and a victim. Second, it's clearly to reiterate the fact that nobody in this room is in war against Russia. But everybody wants a sustainable peace, meaning a peace respecting international rule and restoring Ukraine in its sovereignty.
The echoes of Russia's war of aggression reverberate across the globe. Energy prices have soared, food prices have exploded, and it is a cautionary tale for the entire world. Is it right that a larger country can invade and take territory from a smaller neighbor? The answer is, of course, no.
I thank everyone who has worked for this day, every leader, all the teams and advisors, all the states. 101 states and international organizations are now at the summit, and this is a tremendous success, our success, the common success of all those who believe that a united world, United Nations are stronger than any aggressor.
The vast majority of more than 90 countries attending a Swiss summit on peace for Ukraine supported its final declaration as it concluded on Sunday. Initiated by Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, the two-day summit at the Swiss Alpine resort of Burgenstock aimed to find a consensus on how to end the war in Ukraine.
I'm confident that together we will ensure the result. The first and the second peace summits should unite our joint work on the details of peace.
Many Western leaders voiced condemnation of Russia's invasion and rejected President Vladimir Putin's demands for parts of Ukraine as a condition for peace. However, some countries attended the summit did not put their name to the communique, including Mexico, Saudi Arabia, and India. There was no clarity on whether future talks would involve Russia. Swiss President Viola Amad.
A lasting solution must involve both parties. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the discussions over the past 2 days have shown that there are different points of view. All the more important is our understanding that the path towards peace in Ukraine must be pursued on the basis of international law and, in particular, the United Nations Charter.
Moscow, which was not invited, labeled the summit a waste of time. China was another notable absentee. The conference nevertheless underscored both the broad support Ukraine still enjoys from its allies, but also the challenges for any lasting ceasefire. A draft of the final declaration seen by Reuters refers to Russia's invasion as a war, a label Moscow rejects. It calls for Ukraine's control over the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant and its Azov seaports to be restored, and for Ukraine's territorial integrity to be respected. But in line with the conference's more modest stated aims, it emitted tougher issues on what a post-war settlement for Ukraine might look like and whether Ukraine could join the NATO alliance. The Kremlin did not rule out future talks with Kyiv, but said guarantees will be needed to ensure the credibility of any negotiations. Whether there will be a follow-up to the summit and where it will be held remained unclear.
Okay, so we just witnessed such a clown show. I just wanted to show that, to show the hypocrisy, the characters who are really motivating the global north. As we're talking about, the global south consists mostly of brown-skinned people, brown-skinned Africans, for the most part. As you heard, there are people who were in those videos were mostly Europeans, pale-skinned Europeans. And even Russia, again, declined and said it was a waste of time to even go to this thing. So we're starting to get the bigger picture of what's really going on in the world and how does it affect us? This government that we have, if we're talking about abortion, let's just say, because Kwame brought up abortion, let's just talk about abortion. This last year, Kamala Harris, she's just the puppet of the year. I don't know what you want to call her, but she went the first vice president to actually visit a Planned Parenthood clinic. Who does that? Our government does that. Our vice president does that. So we are not going to get many results as far as change from people like Kamala Harris, the vice president, and so forth. Even Trump, interestingly enough, said in a speech, and he's another clown as far as many people concerned, but he did say that if he became president, he will not send any more money to Zelensky. Well, already has billions. He will cut that off because he thinks he's a good actor and blah, blah, blah. But this is an election season, and these politicians say exactly what they think people want to hear. My point is this. What you just observed in the Switzerland Ukraine Peace Summit was a clown show of people who are supporting human trafficking on some level. That's why Kamala Harris could visit a Planned Parenthood clinic where the abortion is the biggest factor and the biggest money making for them, and providing stem cells from aborted babies. So this whole scene is so wicked, so corrupt, that we want to just help everyone focus on going forward, more meditation, because it's a spiritual battle we're in. It's a spiritual battle we're in. If you're not active in your community, in speaking up against politicians who are promoting the war in the Middle East, who are promoting the genocide, then just go home and meditate and send out some good energy to change the energy of lies, corruption, trafficking that is clearly out of control right now. You got all those people going to Switzerland, to leaders of other countries going to Switzerland to say that Ukraine needs more money, and they're on a peace roadmap. They don't want peace. Russia has already suggested a peace settlement. They declined it. They rejected it because they don't want peace. They want the money to keep flowing. That's the evil. So much evil in this whole scene that we have to recognize it for what it is, a spiritual warfare, spiritual battle. And that's why who is your daddy is the primary question. Who is your spiritual daddy? Who's going to protect you, fight the battles for you as a child of the cosmos? Let's just say we are all children of the cosmos. We are microcosms of the macrocosm, the universal energy of karma and spiritual battles, angels, aliens. We're all children of this greater global, universal, cosmic order of things, karma and all this. So if you recognize down here on this paradigm level, this dimension, third dimension, what the hell is going on down here, then the fourth dimension has to be one of spiritual battle, energy in meditation, and putting out energy from your vessel of love, putting out more energy to bring about consciousness rising in human beings. That's the only solution on a local level. And then Brother Shahid, I'm going to open up Brother Kwame's mic. Brother Shahid is telling you what he's doing as a Muslim on the liberation and the charade of American democracy, and how Muslims will liberate the world. He strongly believes Muslims will be the deciding factor in liberation for the world. Wherever you are, it's time for action, either meditation, spiritual, prayer. Yes, prayer, pray. We need action. And then that's why our ancestors are really needed to help us in this serious battle, global, everywhere. So I've opened the mic for Kwame Sunhorse. Your mic is open.
Yeah, and you're asking the question, who's your daddy? And it's kind of an acronym because that's the World Health Organization.
Yes. Okay.
WHO. And so you're asking, who's your daddy? The World Health Organization is the daddy of this whole big business. Well, but what Rashid was talking about in Article 6 and looking at that and the UN, but these are, when they created the UN and the whole conference that they did for war crimes, these are war crimes. And the killing that's going on in the east over there in Palestine and what they're doing, they should be charged for war crimes. Then you got what's going on in Ukraine. Putin is supposed to be, if he comes out of they can say that they can arrest him. But you've got a man running for president, 34 felons, found guilty, is going to be the president. If he runs again, it's probably because a criminal being the president of this country, what are we saying about us as a people? When you can say that you're going to elect a man that's been convicted, found guilty in a court of law of 34 felonies, and a felony means that if that was one of us, when you're a felon, you can't vote, you can't live in certain places. But how does he have that complexion for the protection?
Okay, so
how
here,
does that happen? Because you got laws for them and you got laws for us.
Yeah. So if you're on Telegram and reading what they're saying about this whole trial being just a political show, you can be sure that those charges are going to be dropped. If their plan that they're talking about, because there's been all year long, there's been conversation about this trial and why, especially if you look at Vivek Ramaswamy's analysis as a lawyer and on the Constitution and how the corruption is there and all that. My own personal perspective is that those charges are going to be dropped. He's not going to be a felon because they're going to find some way to find the whole thing is a scam. It's not real. So yeah, that's a possibility, but I don't think it's going to happen. Because what Trump has is still the wartime president. People don't understand that Biden's not the real president. That's why you see Trump with all this security and cars following him, and he's still on an official airplane. He is the wartime president, and Biden has been pretending.
So is Obama. So is Bill Clinton.
No, they're
all presidents after they leave office have Secret Service till they die.
Yeah, well, this one is what the election was a fraud. We're just seeing the whole show play out, but I'm just saying, at the end of the day, I don't think he's going to be a felon. That's what I'm seeing from the posts that I read on Telegram. This is just another show. Get the popcorn out and watch how they maneuver in this court system. Huh?
He was found guilty in a court of law.
Yeah, that's not going to stick, though.
Send it to the Supreme Court.
It's not going to stick.
It's not, because the exoneration would have to be from the president.
Well, I'm saying it's not going to stick. I'm just saying watch the show as it plays out. This is like the first play, the first scene, or the first act. Let's say this is the first. No, we're probably in the second act by now, second or third act. The final act will reveal all of the fraud and the craziness. So that's why we can't put our trust in the government or the system, right? I think we all agree at this point. Our daddy, the WHO wants to be our daddy. They want to control what we put in our body. They want to control these bird flu agenda, all that. So this is why today for me has been about who is your daddy. I look at my physical father, daddy, and then I look at who's in authority over me today. Who do I look to bring the sweetness in my life, the protection, and the guidance, divine guidance. That's what my dad was always giving, wisdom and divine guidance from above. So I look at that, asking you, who's your dad? Who's giving you guidance? Who's helping you stay in peace and not fear? Because the world is going to be bombarded with fear. It's coming. It's coming. The bird flu is coming. The bird flu. They already starting the propaganda and the little twinkling of look who's in the hospital. Look who died from the bird flu. Blah 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 blah. If we don't prepare now to resist the fear and take action, like Brother Shahid believed. Now he believes part of the solution is to get the military-industrial complex out of the UN, which is what we've been seeing. Every vote for a ceasefire has in the UN has been met with no from the United States government and UK, Europe, and every vote. So we know that the United States is in on this war 100% in Gaza. Genocide is their goal, and the peace is not going to come unless, what Shahid says, unless we get or this article passed and get the United States out of the UN. So it will be interesting to see. I had a hand up. I don't know where that hand up. So anyway, I'm just saying that just looking at abortion, Kwame Sunhorse, the solution to me is educating women. We cannot it's a battle that I was in years ago, standing on the street with signs pro life, and educating, showing women all the laws and details about Planned Parenthood and all the evil and the destruction they were doing. And women have changed because they were educated, in my opinion. Women have denied or declined the option of family choice with abortion clinics, Planned Parenthood, because they became educated and they realized in many ways the grace and mercy and divine authority over their lives was all about making a choice for life. So whatever issues come up with abortion, to me, it's all about talking to women and asking them questions about why they need to have an abortion.
But what about the girls that are growing up to be women?
That's the thing.
That's
We
where you
start. That's exactly. We start with you. I have a granddaughter. She has her period now. So I looked at her dad. My son said, "Okay, you know what can happen next. So what do you? We got to really be. We have to be conscious about her education in the home first, right? We start educating these young women in the home first about relationships with men. You know, you got a period now. That means your body is preparing to have a baby in the future. So let's talk about relationships with boys first and then men. That's where it starts. So that even so first of all, maybe we can prevent women from looking for a sugar daddy. We don't want this is who is your daddy. We want to prevent young girls from looking for sugar daddies. How many of you out there have had sugar daddies? Raise your hand. Here we are. I've had my sugar daddies and don't want that anymore in my life. That was a long time ago. So part of our education then is to train women to respect their bodies. And I am especially looking forward to helping my granddaughter meditate and take and do deep breathing. That's one thing I do with both with both my grandson and my granddaughter. Meditation, yoga, meditation, breathing. In fact, I wanted to, before the show ends, I really want to help people out there some in my own life, who resist meditation for religious reasons. Somehow there are people who are raised in a Christian environment, and because this is a spiritual battle, this is the next level. I'm saying is meditation and inward focus, not so much outward. Now that we know what's going on out here and we know the seriousness of it, the battle that we're in, the Zelensky propaganda lies and the Kamala Harris lies propaganda. What do? We go inward and we make choices to do meditation in our spare time, in every day, not just spare time, but every day. So I found this really simple teaching that I want to play for those of you who are resisting the meditation. It's not just a once in a while thing to do deep breathing. It's a every day. Every day we should all be taking time out in nature and doing some deep breathing. And after that, I have a message from Ralph Smart, but I want to find, let's see, I want to just play this for those of you who are reluctant to meditate and do deep breathing, to know how it affects your body, How does deep breathing help your body? And anxiety, if anxiety is rising in you, I want you to think about why it's important to do the deep breathing and the meditation, because that's what's going to help us all in the coming weeks and months. Focusing inward. Yeshua, the Master, the Messiah, told his disciples, the kingdom is within. Stop looking all out there for a kingdom or an answer or a solution. The Messiah said the kingdom is within. So today, those of us who are raising in our consciousness, in our mind, bringing on the spirit of truth, the Messiah, the anointing is coming to many people because they're walking in truth, they're speaking truth. Think about the words of the Messiah, the kingdom is within. And then inside of you, there is a sympathetic and a parasympathetic nervous system. So if the kingdom is within, how do you manage these important nervous system? Here's a little help to do that.
Angry, or generally any big emotion, you've probably been told to just breathe. This might feel dismissive, patronizing, and generally unhelpful, but deep breathing can really help you. Breathing is something that we all do without realizing. It's automatic. We breathe in and out about 22,000 times a day. But how can controlled deep breathing help us? When we are faced with challenges and problems, your sympathetic nervous system gets triggered. The primary function of the sympathetic nervous system is to activate the fight, flight, freeze response and help you survive in threatening situations. We have a video on the fight, flight, freeze response if you'd like to watch it. But generally, when a stressful or anxiety-provoking situation arises, the amygdala sends a distress signal to the hypothalamus. Impulses are then transmitted through the sympathetic nervous system to the adrenal glands, which then pump adrenaline into the bloodstream. This will then bring about the physiological changes needed to be prepared to either fight, flight, or freeze. So in other words, to help you survive. Most modern day stressors, such as starting a new school, taking a test, walking in a crowd, and so on, they might appear small, but they may be interpreted as potential life threats, and they can trigger the fight, flight, freeze response. This is where deep breathing comes in. Taking deep breaths at a slow and steady pace increases the supply of oxygen to our brains. This encourages our parasympathetic nervous system, or the rest and digest response, to take over. This brings a sense of calmness and safety. Your heart beats slower, your muscles relax, your blood pressure decreases, and your levels of nitric oxide are increased, and that's needed for overall health. Breathing techniques can also help you feel connected to your body. It brings your awareness away from the worries in your head, and it quiets your mind. You don't have to wait for big emotions to come in order to deep breathe. Daily deep breathing exercise can help us maintain this rest and digest state. Practicing them when calm will also help you know what to do if you trigger the fight, flight, freeze response. There are many different types of breathing techniques. You just have to find the right ones for you, but just make sure they are slow, deep breaths. A good place to start would be 4 seconds in and 4 seconds out.
So this is so I can't stress enough how important you start developing a meditation and breathing practice as things get more chaotic this year, closer to the election, whatever. We never know what's going to show up. Start today, start tonight. There are different breathing practices. Zelda, our Monday morning host, starts her show every Monday morning with hopeful breathing techniques. So join in Zelda in the morning. In fact, let's see. She's going to have a show tomorrow honoring the masculine energy of fatherhood with Brother Lionel Abdul Haq tomorrow morning. This is going to save your life if you stick with it and practice it, and it's so that it becomes automatic. Stress comes automatic. Deep breathing, go into meditation. Don't go no, that's when the breathing is shallow and you're going to get stress in your body and pain, inflammation. No, immediately deep breathing, deeper. Every time you get into a stressful situation, let breathing deeply and meditation be your first choice and act to survive whatever is going on in your life. I see a hand up, and then after that, I hope I can bring in. I want to end with Brother Infinite Waters, but let me go to the phone. 773-450. Your mic is open. Welcome. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hallelujah, greetings. Wonderful show as usual. I just wanted to say the thing about the breathing piece for one, because the madness of society where everybody's war and who funds that is more important than the people that live there, then that's already insane. But in regards to the breathing piece, always exhale first. The inhale you don't have to do. If you push it all out, it'll come back on a man. You should practice that. Exhale first, push all of the bad stuff out, and then let the air come back naturally. That's the way with the breath to go. It's not the inhaling like that thinking you're doing a big deal. No. You inhale through your nose, but you must exhale first and push it all the way out. And I bet you when it's all out, it'll come back naturally. Try it. That's a new technique for those who don't know otherwise. But other than that, I would just say that we should continue to do what we should do. But I would be one of the first people to say that for this particular election coming up, because they're going to have this big convention in Chicago in a couple of weeks, where Biden and the whole cast with Kamala Harris, all of them are going to come. And basically, I'm just voting against them. I don't care who owns on the other side. That's my stand on it. If you don't like what you have, then you have to get rid of it. Vote for the lesser of two evils. Try something different. Other than that, stay peaceful, be blessed, and be optimistic about life. Life is for the living. You have to spend more time planning, drinking water, eating less, thinking more, meditating on what your purpose is and why were you put on this planet. Once you find out the 9 gifts and talents you have, then you can move forward. Because after all, once you surrender, it's not your choice. You're just doing what you're told. Sure appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing. I like that.
Thank you. That was Brother Obadiah in Chicago. And thank you for your uplifting and positive, inspirational thoughts. My feeling on breathing is do whatever feels best for you. I wouldn't say one way is better than the other. Inhaling, exhaling, just get the rhythm down and practice. There are lots of teachings on breathing on YouTube. There's probably hundreds of teachings on breathing in YouTube. There is no one better way. Just do what, after you've practiced enough, nobody can tell you how to breathe. Once you start practicing and get your own rhythm, you breathe. Exhaling first might be the best for you. Inhaling might be, but just do it. That's the main point, is just do it. Because once you get in that stressful situation and you have not been practicing, that's when disease starts coming up, and if the chronic issue comes up over and over, we don't want that for us, for conscious people. We want you to be prepared with breathing and meditation and whatever comes your way. And here's Brother Ralph Smart to give us some wisdom for the day, how to deal with weak minds. If you're weak, your soul, people who are not who they say. We want you to hear some of his advice to round up this.
There are people out there who wear masks There are people out there who are very fake and phony. Weak minds, weak souls, and people who aren't who they claim to be. We're about to take a deep dive. Are you ready? The cat down the road is, let's go. Peace. Infinite Waters diving deep once again. Shout out to all of you amazing deep divers. Another beautiful day. I hope everyone is taking care of themselves. And yes, a big shout out to everyone who's joined the new Ralph Smart Patreon page for all new exclusive content that's going to help you become your greatest version. Click the link down below. So deep divers, let's talk about how to deal with weak minds, weak souls, and people who are not who they claim to be. There are so many people right now who are not who they claim to be. There are so many people out there who are wearing masks. And someone actually sent me a great message. They're like, Ralph, how can I deal with insincere people? How can I deal with people who are not who they claim to be? Sometimes they come around you, befriend you, and then their true colors start to show. That's a great question. So we're going to talk about that, deep divers. I want everyone right now to hit that like button if you support the real. Once again, hit that like button right now if you support the real, because we got a whole lot to talk about. Okay, deep divers, let's talk about it. How to deal with weak minds, weak souls, and people who are not who they claim to be. Do you know someone out there, deep divers, like that? Do you know someone who has changed dramatically from when you first met them? Okay, we're going to talk about it. But first and foremost, if you are watching this video, this is your confirmation. A beautiful new energy is entering your life. Make space for it. Budge up, deep divers, because things are about to get a whole lot better for you. Are you ready, deep divers? Let's breathe. Let's breathe. Oh, I'm ready. Let's go. Woo! Breathing in that good ass prana, baby. Take all of that good ass energy I'm sending you, raising the frequency, raising the vibration. And we ain't even had breakfast yet. Can I get a hello there? So wonderful, deep divers. Let's talk about how to deal with weak minds, weak souls, and people who aren't who they claim to be. You know, deep divers, what's really helped me along my journey is to realize that people are going to disappoint you. People are going to switch up on you. People are going to change. You know why? Because human beings are forever changing. And human beings are still working on themselves, right? Sometimes you think people are going to be like you because you have certain values, certain morals. You think everyone else is going to be the same. No, sorry to disappoint you, deep divers, but everyone is totally different. And everyone is also at a different stage of evolution. Don't expect people to treat you like you treat them. And that's the reason why you have to be mindful of your circle before they hurt you. Every single day, you want to make sure that you are aware of who you are allowing into your space. Okay, not everyone who says they're this real person is actually real. You see, deep divers, many people are wearing masks. Many people are agents in disguise. Many people tell us a good story when in actuality, down the road, you realize it was lies all along. You see, when we're talking about dealing with weak minds, weak souls, and people who aren't who they claim to be, I want to remind you, deep divers, it's not personal. Sometimes you think it's about you. No, it's about them, what they're going through, what they're dealing with. So don't take it as something personal. Many people don't even know who they are. Many people are still trying to figure it out. And you might get with them, be around them, and then you're like, wait a second, this person's not who they claim to be. Well, the truth is they don't even know who they are. And until that point, you're always going to get not the real version of who they really are. You see, every single day you've got to remind yourself, many people on this planet are living in a state of fear. That is so prevalent in society, fear, right? A lot of people are scared. They live in fear. And when you're around someone who is always in a state of fear, you're not going to see the truest side of who they really are. You're going to see the most afraid version of themselves. You're going to see the most fearful version of them, not the realist version of them. So you have to remind yourself, when someone is living in a state of fear, they are going to project their fear onto you. They are going to make it seem as if fear is the only way. And that's also going to influence the interaction you have with them. It's going to influence everything. And that's the reason why you've got to remind yourself, when we talk about dealing with weak minds, weak souls, and people who aren't who they claim to be, just ask yourself and be honest. Are they vibrating with the love frequency, or are they vibrating with a fear frequency? Are they vibrating on the fear frequency? Many people who aren't who they claim to be are in the fear frequency. They're not in the truth vibrations. So if you find yourself around someone who's not who they claim to be, always remind yourself that you don't have to be like them. You don't have to follow their actions. You don't have to be a copycat, because if they disappointed you, don't be like them. Realize that hurt people, and realize that actually you want to use that as fuel, motivation to say, you know what? Thank goodness I'm not like them. Thank goodness I was raised better. Every single day, count your blessings, count them one by one, and realize that actually the universe has blessed you infinitely. And not everyone you lose in life is a loss. Slow motion this side. Not everyone the universe takes out of your life is a bad thing. Sometimes the universe takes that person out of your life to make space for someone new, someone that's really going to help you, someone that's really going to journey with you, someone who's really going to be a complement to your own energy. We've got to remind ourselves, when we talk about weak souls, weak minds, and people who aren't who they claim to be, there are many weak souls out there who allow the opinions of other people to sway them. Sometimes there are people out there and they listen to what their family tells them. They don't have a mind of their own. They listen to what their friends tell them. They don't have a mind of their own. And you might meet one of these people, and how they behave is got everything to do with how they are listening to the opinions of other people. If you are someone who has a free mind, a free soul, a free spirit, you're someone who doesn't have a weak mind. You've got a strong mind, a strong soul, because what other people think has no bearing on your decisions. What other people think doesn't bother you. But to a weak mind, they really care what other people think. They're really bothered by other people's opinions. And therefore, you may stumble across someone, deep divers, who you know, and they start acting funny. And the reason why is because they have external influences in their ear. They don't have a mind of their own. And that will make them make weak choices and decisions. But you have to remind yourself every single day to focus on yourself. Like I always say, I wake up every single day with a whole bunch of grapes in my mouth. You see, I've been creating for a little while, deep divers, and I've met my fair share of weak minds, weak souls, and people who aren't who they claim to be. And how do I deal with it? How does Ralph Smart deal with it? Well, you see, every single day I realize that my energy is precious. It's not for everyone, but it is for the cat down the road. It's not for everyone. Your energy is sacred. Be mindful of who you share your energy with. Not everyone deserves to be in your presence. And if people don't appreciate your presence, well, they're going to have to learn how to appreciate you in your absence. Slow motion this side. You see, when we talk about dealing with weak minds, weak souls, and people who aren't who they claim to be, always remind yourself when you're not even sure if when you're not even sure if they are who they say they are, just give it time. Because time always tells the truth in the end. Time always reveals people's true colors, their true intentions. That's why when people say, Ralph, I love you, I say, okay, let's see.
So again, that's Ralph Smart with Infinite Waters. I wanted you to hear the first part. That's actually a 20-some minute video, but I hope that it has inspired you to pay attention to energy, the energy of fear or love. So many people are walking around in fear these days, and the action hasn't even started. The propaganda is heating up. It hasn't even gotten into full gear yet. And I'm seeing so much fear. Oh my goodness. So just be aware that fear or love is usually controlling people's behavior. And as Ralph shared, just be aware and go into your breathing and meditation and take action with love. Always take action with love. Breathing in, loving yourself first, and letting go of any frustrations. And that's what you're going to hear tomorrow with Zelda, honoring the masculine energy of fatherhood, and with Brother Lionel. So come back tomorrow for the female solution. And it's time. Wow, time went so fast. It is time for us to depart. And I hope that this has been helpful for you for the rest of your journey this week. The month is half over, and we are looking at some powerful action coming up this month. The rest of the year. Let's just say the rest of the year. It's just getting started. So be prepared, my brothers and sisters. Spend time in nature, especially. Please spend time in nature. And remember who we are. We are here. We are here in nature. 90 seconds. Always in nature, actually, but let's just remind ourselves. Nature.
On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, jonkuyon. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.
And to all my yogi friends out there, namaste, sat nam. Mwah. Love you, love you, love you. Have a great week, and aloha, aloha to my friends in Hawaii. Lahaina, stand strong. We love you too. And you got this. We got this. It's a collective power. We're working together. Shalom.